Welcome to paperfinesse.com. We'll be doing some tutorials on Silhouette Studio and also various paper crafts. So sit back and let's have some fun.
Hello and welcome. Today we're going to look at how to make cut files for your stamps. Now this particular one is a rose or a couple of roses, a big one, a small one, 2 leaves, and a bud from Kitchen Sink Stamps. And it's a multi-step stamp. I will be following up soon with a video on how to mass produce multi-step stamps that have been already cut out. So what I did was take the step 1, which is the largest stamp of the set, and stamped them on a piece of paper. I didn't care how good the centers or how good the image was as long as it had a good outline. And my particular scanner scans it an 8.5 by 11 to a PDF. And I'm not sure if the basic version of Silhouette Studio does a PDF or not. I tried to find out online. So while I'm at it, I'm going to show you what I found. I've got the designer version. And what this is from Silhouette America. It is the basic and the designer versus the designer edition and the differences. So if you haven't seen this document yet, it's pretty helpful. And I went down, and one of the first changes is grids. I actually use grids and guides and rulers, so that's designer version for me works really well. Now, supported file types. Basic, which is a free version, PNG, JPEG, BUMP, BMP, GIF, and TIFF. Designer, PNG, JPEG, BUMP, GIF, TIFF, GSD, DXF. GSD I know used to be the old Silhouette SD, and I'm not sure who else used it. DXF I think is one of the formats that embroidery uses, but I can't swear by that. And SVG. SVG is pretty common from other vector programs. Neither one says that it opens a PDF. I know the designer version does. So before you scan, check your basic version if that's what you've got and see if you can open up any other PDF. If not, be sure you scan in one of these formats. I would pick either PNG or JPEG probably. And then just real quick while we're here, the designer version also lets you do rhinestone, sketch, transfer properties between shapes, and an adjustable pivot point rotation. And there's one other version, it's Designer Edition Plus, and the main difference I could see there is if you're into embroidery, be sure you get the Designer Edition Plus because it has a lot more embroidery type files that you can open. Okay, let's get back to Silhouette. So I opened my PDF of my scanned flowers. So the first thing I need to do is trace them. So I like to zoom in pretty close. But I want to see all of them. Then I go to the trace window, select trace area, go around the whole thing, turn off the high pass, turn on the low pass, and I increase the threshold until I see a nice solid line on the outside. I don't want it to expand my line, so I will go down. See, as I'm going down right here, you can start seeing some of the detail of the leaf coming back. But I don't want to go so far that I go in smaller than my actual stamp. I can see right here that we don't have a good connection, so I'm going to zoom in a little closer. See how we've got an opening here where they're not connecting? So let's take the threshold back up a little bit. It's getting better. Let's try changing the value to 2. No, that's too much. See what happened is there's no separation there anymore. Put that back. So this is just trial and error. So I'm going to try to increase the threshold a little bit more. Okay, let's try that. And we will go to Trace Outer Edge and see how we did. The red line is where it's going to cut. Oh yeah, that's not bad. This will cut out in one piece now. These little areas where it's not 100% perfect, I don't worry about it because I will fill the edges in with my main flower color. This isn't bad. Looks like it's pretty good. If you need it to edit any points, oops. Let's say you want to get this a little bit tighter, you would select your object, go to Object, Release Compound Path, select this again, Object. You keep going until you get your individual objects, which we now have. See the box around it? And now I go to the Point Editing tool. And at this point, I can see the little change in the cursor right here. I can move my point. We're not going to get into an explanation a lot right now on points, but other than just moving them. But you can select a point like right there, and you can delete if you want to. You can break paths, you can smooth, you can make a point that has a curve to it flat, or make a flat line segment into a curve. Like this is a curve, you can see it. Okay, so let's zoom back out. Now we have our cut file. I'm going to go another step further here. I'm going to move this to the side. I like keeping my scanned images with my cut file. Okay, so I have got my page set up to 8.5 by 11, and you do that right here. 8.5 by 11 is what I'm using, and I'm going to move this around because I'm going to be cutting out a lot of shapes, numerous shapes, and I'm going to be stamping the cut shapes, and I need a template to do that. So what I'm doing is I'm going to arrange everything that's going to be in the reds together and the greens. And if you follow up with the card tutorial soon, once I get my camera set up, you'll understand what I'm talking about because I'm using a stamp positioner. And then I would cut this. But whenever I do a cut, I don't like wasting all this paper. So I would take the flowers and make some duplicates and utilize that. So you go down and get your cut settings. Pick out the kind of cardstock you're using. I happen to just be using, I use a thin, lightweight cardstock usually for my cutting. Trying to get to the cut setting here. Okay, so it's cardstock, and my blade is fine at 3. And my thickness, oh, I was cutting some vellum. Yes, vellum. I put it back to 33, and I send to silhouette. Next thing I want to show you is if you want to make this cut file and you want to share it with someone, or you want to use it on another machine other than the silhouette, and you need an SVG file. How I convert to SVG files is this. I highlight it. I make sure it's on an 8.5 by 11 page. I highlight it and I turn my lines black. I go to the thickness, or to the line type. I want a regular line, but I want a thickness of 1. I think I use 1.5. So it will actually show up. And I press the return key on my keyboard. I have thicker lines, as you can see. I take a screenshot, and on the Mac I can do Control-Shift-4. I'm not sure what command is for the PC, but I can actually select the area, and so I make sure I get the 8.5 inches across, the full 8.5, which you'll see in a moment why that's important, and I take the screenshot. And I'm going to use Make the Cut, which is a purchased software similar to Silhouette Studio, except it's got a lot more features and there's a steeper learning curve. Silhouette Studio really does do a decent job for what most of us need it to do. But to convert to SVGs, I use Make the Cut, and you could use, I'm going to open it here, you could use any number of vector programs. I'm sure you could do a trace in Illustrator, probably in Inkscape. I'm not good at either one. Make the Cut, I happen to know how to do this. I don't know how to do a lot in here. And this little icon will do a pixel trace. I put my screenshot that I took on the desktop. So I open it. There's a lot of settings here I don't understand. As long as I see a solid path, I'm okay. Otherwise, you have to play with some of these settings. And I'm going to import. Finish tracing. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Like I said, I'm a real novice at Make the Cut. I'm just showing you possibilities of what you can do to convert it. Now, I need this. I need to select it. Okay. I want to make sure it's the right size, and because I traced it 8.5 by 11, I'm going to put this in the corner. Okay, so I selected. I'm going up here to the width, and I need the width to be 8.5. So I'm going to go 8.5 and hit my return key. Oh, okay. That's the 12-inch map. Sorry, 8.5. Okay, good. So that's the best way. Just select it and go 8.5. Now you would go, make sure I've got the menu here for Make the Cut. File, Export to SVG file. And that's all there is to making SVG with Make the Cut. Like I said, you can do this in any number of programs. This is just the one I know. There used to be a way to do it with an older version of Silhouette, but once they changed their licensing, it disabled it. I'm not changing it because I've already done it. Okay, well, I hope that helped. If you're interested in seeing how I mass produce these, subscribe to my station so you get notified when that video is available. Like I said, right now I'm working on figuring out how to set up my camera for my first card video. Thanks for taking the time to watch.
Thanks for watching the video. If you liked it, please push the thumbs up like button and subscribe to the video. See you next time.